Hello there. Welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. Before we dive into today's episode, I'm going to quickly introduce myself and then we will jump into the meat and potatoes of it. All right. Now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I get to host you here each week, as you've likely guessed by now. And through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream chasing horse business owners to grow their business with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you as well. All that I do is so that you, as an equestrian entrepreneur, can be out doing what you love to do, whether it's in the barn, at the pasture, the arena, the round pen, behind the computer, behind the camera lens, in the workshop. However, you're serving the equine industry, I want to help you do more of that. And so today we are doing that by way of learning from somebody you might be surprised about. So, we're talking today about Kenny Chesney, but here's the deal. Here's why, okay? Because I truly believe at my heart and to my core that you can be a learner and learn from anything and everything. And truly, if you want to be a successful equine business owner, then you're going to have the heart of a learner, which is why you're here. Okay. So recently, I was reading Kenny Chesney's new book, Heart Life Music, and there were so many lessons and applications for equine business owners that I had to do an episode about it. It wasn't my original intention, but I'm not, if you've been here a while, you're not super surprised by it. I actually did an episode, episode 117 was 9 Kenny Chesney concert takeaways for equestrian entrepreneurs. And then episode 99 was 6 marketing lessons from a Garth Brooks concert. So I am a fan of learning where you are. And so if you want to listen to those episodes, I will have them in the show notes for you. But truly, while I don't love the word fan, I do have so much appreciation for Kenny Chesney. I do enjoy his music. I do enjoy his concerts. And so I definitely did pre-order a signed copy of his book. But here's the thing. This episode is not about his music. This episode is not about country music. And it's truly not about Kenny Chesney. It's about you. It's about things I want you to take away and learn from his journey. So the book is his journey. And so as we look at his journey from the beginning to what he's doing now, there are so many things that you can take away and learn for your equine business. Now, 2 caveats before we dive in, okay? Number 1, I have 8 things prepared. This is not a super long episode, as you can see. So this is not an in-depth list. And so stick with me. Yes, there are 8. That is a little more than my normal takeaways for you. But I will have those on the show notes for you too. So just listen. And if you want to review it, you can go there to the show notes. But my encouragement to you, because this is a longer list, my encouragement is for you to just listen to 1 or 2 things that you can take and apply in your business. Now, here's the other reason why, okay? The reason I want you to focus on 1 or 2. These are lessons and takeaways from Kenny Chesney's journey. That does not mean these are things that he has done every single day or every season of his business. It's things that I noticed. It's not even takeaways, honestly, that are listed in his book. It's things that I noticed and that I thought we could benefit and learn from as we build our businesses, okay? And so because it's his journey, it's going to apply to different parts and seasons and facets of your journey. So your takeaway may be a bit different, or the thing that stands out to you is probably going to be different than another listener. And that's great. That's why I have 8 of them. Okay. So just listen for 1 or 2 that really stand out to you that you can take and apply in your business. Because remember, listening, learning is great. Application is where the magic happens. Okay. One last thing. I kept telling you show notes. If you want to go to those show notes, the way you get there is if you go to Storm Lily, LILY.com/200 for episode 200. Okay. That'll get you to the show notes for the links and all the things. All right, friends, let's dive in. Here are 8 life and business takeaways that will apply to your equine business inspired by Kenny Chesney's journey. Number 1, you do not have to bear all to be real. Generally speaking, Kenny Chesney is somebody that's actually pretty private. I noticed this a few years back, the very first concert I went to, I think like 2018, and he actually hurt his ankle during the concert. And you could tell because he was clearly limping around, but he stayed up there. He didn't mention it. He typically jumps around a lot. He's very high energy. If you're thinking, how does Kenny Chesney do that? He's country music. Google it. You'll find it. But the thing is, he didn't mention it. And then later, I went to social and I was just curious, like, hey, did he post anything or did somebody say what happened? There was no information out there. It's so private. And I respected that so much because in this day and age, so often, as soon as something happens, what I did is what everyone does because we expect somebody's going to share about it right away. And so I loved that initially I learned then and started to see like he's actually real private about things. And so in his book, he shared a lot of his journey, but he held back a lot from a personal perspective. And honestly, for example, he has a sister, doesn't even mention his sister, except for saying that his mom had kids that were at the beach and that she enjoyed taking her kids to the beach. And so I Googled, like, hey, he has siblings and found out he has a sister and found some pictures, whatever. I'm not like super into, I need to know all the things. I was just curious, but I found it interesting and respectful, honestly, that he held back because, yes, you can still be successful and you don't have to bear all in order to do it. So, for you, what does that mean for your equine business? Here's the thing I know, especially as you are marketing online, there is the need, yes, for people to connect and buy from people and for them to have a connection to you. But that does not mean you have to share and bear all the things. And I know that many of you hold this tension of how much should I share of my personal life online when I'm trying to build my business using online marketing. There is not a black and white answer to that. It is a gray area. But what I want you to see here is there is permission and freedom for you to do it in a way that fits you best. So if you are more private, do not feel and fall into the pressure that you need to put all the personal things out there in order to make a connection. Okay. So permission that you do not have to bear all to be real. Number two. The next takeaway or lesson I have from you or for you is to play the long game. If I gave you a rundown of Kenny's discography, when he started up till now, number one, it's like 30 years. So that would be a long time, right? But number two, what you would see is it's been 30 years. He's still going. And he started with his first single in 94. But before that, you remember, before a musician ever has their first single, there are plenty of years before that, right? Where they're hitting the dirt and doing the hard things. But here's what I want you to see. His approach and the approach that his manager was coaching him in was truly to play the long game. And his manager literally told him that. His name was Dale. He actually was the manager of Country Music Legends Alabama, which I think is pretty cool. So he's looking at Kenny and saying, hey, we're playing the long game here. And as his mom asked him, do you need to come home? I know things are hard. And, things that moms do to support them and say, look, I love you. I love what you're doing, but you always have a place here. And he looked at her and said, look, I'm here to do whatever it takes, however hard I have to work and however long it takes. It may not be happening as fast as I want, but Dale, his manager, says the things that take time to build are the ones that last. And I want to be in this for the long haul. And again, for you and your equine business friends, I want to remind you, when you're building a sustainable equine business, you are going to have a long game picture, a long-term picture. Do we want success? Yes. Do we tend to think things are going to happen overnight and see someone's success and think it was overnight? Yes. In our human nature, we do. But that's not reality and that's not sustainable. So I want to encourage you to lean in and remind yourself you are playing the long game. All right, number three. When things don't go as planned, you can laugh it off and keep going. Now, again, I just want to remind you, these are things that I saw. These are things that I took away from his book. It's not like he said, learn from me in this way. And this is something, the principle of his life. I don't know if he would notice and see that he does that. But he shared a couple of stories of things that went awry or didn't go as expected. And it didn't diminish what he was doing. It didn't crush him. When he wrote his first ever song and he gave it to a girl, he was in college, and she literally the next day in class sat across the room in the back corner from him. Or his first headlining tour, he literally tore his pants in the place you do not want to tear them and didn't notice it until the very end, and then just kept singing because he's like, I'm headlining a tour and this is amazing, and I'm not going to let that keep me from enjoying it. So I saw that very likely because it's not something that comes easy to me. Some of you are probably listening and saying, yeah, I agree 100%. Of course, just laugh it off. But for me, when I saw that in the book, I realized that's more of who I want to be and who I am becoming for sure. But it has been a work in process, a work in progress for me to release that perfectionism mindset and to really embrace this idea of not failing, but learning, which is so key and important for equine business owners, isn't it? So for you, my encouragement to you is to embrace that. Right? When something happens that did not go as expected, maybe it's not always a laughing matter. I understand that. But we do have a choice in getting to focus on it and frame our entire year, our entire experience around that, or just keep going. So that was number 3. Okay. Number 4, give 110% to what you're going to do. Halfway effort is going to get you halfway results. And we know this, yet sometimes we don't give 110% to what we're doing. And what I saw in his story as he shared his journey was that one of the reasons he can bring such a high energy to so many of those stadium shows that he does is because he's taking care of his body from early on. He's paying attention to what he's putting into it. He's paying attention to how he exercises it. He's paying attention to certain things and he goes all in, right? So when everyone else is eating Mexican food at the meeting, he's sitting there eating his steak and broccoli. Literally, he didn't share that as an example in terms of saying, like, look what I do. He was giving an understanding of what was happening and sharing that. And that was my takeaway. Like, look at him. He's dedicated and he's focused because he knows what he's doing it for. And so, again, for you guys and your horse business, I just want to remind you, you might be saying, Denise, I do. I give 110%. And then when I ask you about what are you doing on social media and how are you showing up? Or when I ask you about your client onboarding, or when I ask you, how's your email newsletter coming along? Are you at least doing one once a month? What's your commitment to yourself? Then you're like, oh, okay, well, there's that. Okay. So I just want to encourage you, perhaps evaluate, are there some areas in your business where you've not given all of your effort and now it's time to do that? Now, can I do a little asterisk here? Because as a business coach, I also always tell my coach and my coachees, I guess, I tell my clients uh, that you do not have the time and energy to give everything 110% all the time. So I am definitely not suggesting that. Okay. I want you to hear that loud and clear. But what I am saying is that things that you are going to go in on, go all in on. Okay. That's what's going to get you the results. All right, number 5 actually leads on that because I also know that you can't be all in all the time. That is going to lead to burnout. That is not what I want for you. So, in this next lesson or takeaway, number 5 is to give yourself space to create. Everyone needs to refuel. It's the same for you as it is for Kenny Chesney. Every human body needs to be refilled up. Okay. For him, he landed in the Virgin Islands a lot. If you know much of his story or his music, you will know that about him. And that became a safe place for him to refuel. And so for you, what's your safe place to refuel? Where do you go to get filled back up? Now, what I will say, interestingly, I was preparing this episode, and then I saw an email newsletter from an organization who serves riding instructors. And it was telling them like how to be sustainable, take care of yourself. And one of the things it said was you must have something outside of the barn that fills you up. Find a hobby, gardening, whatever it is. And I'm going to just say that's not true for everybody. Like I've talked to people, I've talked to horse trainers and riding instructors and others in the equine industry who are like, the thing that fills me up is actually what I do, but doing it for myself for fun. So for example, photographers, right? There are many of you who are taking pictures for clients left and right, and you haven't picked up the camera for your own fun and enjoyment in a very long time. And one of my clients, Phyllis Brochette, and even Shelly Paulson, who you've heard me talk about as well, both of them that I've worked with in the past, have both talked about the importance and the value of picking up their camera and just shooting for fun. And that's life-giving to them, gives them space to create, and they can bring that into their business. And for riding instructors, the same thing. My riding instructor, she teaches jumping primarily. And on the side, though, she loves to barrel race and go team roping. And so she does those things and that gives her life. So in the horse world, I feel like it is not always going to be that your hobby, your time and space away to refuel is 100% outside of what you do for work. So, my suggestion to you, my hope for you is that you look at it and say, am I giving my time or myself time and space to refill? Whether it's in the barn, whether it's in the saddle, whether it's on the beach or on the river, wherever it might be, giving yourself that time and space. That's the important thing I want you to take away here. All right, friends, we have three more. Okay. Number 6, I want you to create an experience to remember. And the reason I took this away from Kenny Chesney is yes, experiencing his concerts and the fun and the energy and seeing how they approach that, and then getting to see in his book the way he approached it from the beginning. But on top of that, at his concerts, separately behind the stage somewhere, he has what's called a vibe room where his radio guests and his friends and musicians that aren't playing, they all come there and hang out. And it's like an insider space, and it's created on purpose for exactly what it's called, to have a unique vibe. And it's an experience that people walk away from and they're like, that was not like any other concert I've been a part of. They also have a yearbook, which I thought was so fun. Since starting the stadium tours, somebody on his team actually creates a yearbook for everybody on the road team that's a snapshot, a visual picture of what their year was like together. And that creates a unique experience for his team. So, again, back to you and your business. Okay. I'm always going to turn it around and say, this is what I've learned. How can we apply it to your business? So, for your equine business, I want you to think about the experience that you're creating for your customers and your clients, and also for your team. When is the last time you thought about the team that you work with, that you are blessed to get to steward and lead, and how you can create a unique experience for them as a part of your team? And also for your clients and customers. For example, what does the onboarding experience look like? Is it memorable? What about when you deliver your services? Or what about what's happening in between? What are some unique things that you are doing that create a memorable experience? All right. Number 7 and number 8 is coming right up. Number 7. Number 7 is to be here for the people. Here's what I mean by that. I want you to focus on caring about and staying connected to the community that you serve. Okay. Now, the reason I'm telling you this, and I pulled this from Kenny Chesney, and you may remember it if you were here for the original episode when it was a takeaway from his concert, because it was similar. Because Kenny Chesney has a community base called No Shoes Nation. And I call it a community base because it's so much more than just a fan base. And truly, when he talks about it, he was asked about it, he describes it as a community, and the people that are a part of it say the same thing. Because here's the thing, it's not about him. It's bigger than him. And therefore, and he cares for them, right? It's not just about the energy he can take, it's the energy that he can give. And he talks about that in his book. And it's true. And so for you and your horse business, it's the same thing, right? If you are doing things just to serve you, if you are building your business just to serve you, and you've gotten disconnected from your community, if you've gotten disconnected from your audience, it's going to show through. They're going to feel that disconnect. I can just tell you, I'm not going to name the other concert that I would compare it to, but being at the Kenny Chesney concert and that experience is so different than multiple others, but one in particular who you just felt like the guy on stage was soaking everything in for himself, and instead you just really feel a difference. I know it sounds weird, but it really does. You just feel a difference because Kenny Chesney is approaching it from a completely different perspective. And he even says, like, I know they care about me because I care about them. And he truly is thinking about them. And so for your horse business, for many of you, what I've seen happen is in the beginning, you're really close to the people that are right around you. You have a smaller number of clients and customers. You're in communication with them a lot. But then you hire someone to help you, and they become that go-to person. They kind of step in, and it's good. It gives you space. But then you hire somebody else, or you hire an assistant trainer. And what happens is oftentimes that space between you and your customer base gets bigger and bigger. And so then when you go to create new products and services, when you go to market your business, you're not landing. Your messages isn't landing. You're not selling like you thought you would because you're so disconnected from your people. So the takeaway I want you to hear is to stay connected. You've heard me talk about staying connected to your why. This is very similar, but this is very tangible. Stay connected to people, and specifically the people you are serving. All right, lesson and takeaway number 8, friends. Be all you. Stay connected to the roots and what makes you you. Now, I know that sounds a little bit cheesy. Like, I recognize that as soon as I say it. But the reason it's become cliche is because it's so true. It's been said so often because it's true. Okay. So for Kenny Chesney, you would, if you read his book or learn about his story, you will discover that the numbers and everything drastically changed for him when he started to create music that was closer to who he is rather than trying to fit a mold of what a country music singer should be. And so the same is true for you in your equine business. When you are trying to fit a mold of what everyone else is doing, instead of being true to who you are and who God's created you to be, and being true to the audience that you know you are meant to serve, and you start trying to reach everybody else because what happens? We look around, we see what everyone else is doing, and we lose sight of our roots. We lose sight of what makes us unique. And so, my encouragement to you is to stay connected to what makes you you. Okay. One of the interesting thing is in no shoes, no shirt, no problems. That was the thing that kind of turned things away around for Kenny Chesney. And then years later, he actually reached a point where he was feeling over it, burnt out, and kind of lost touch with some of that. And so what happened is he actually, through a song that was brought to him, if you are a country music fan, you may know The Boys of Fall. And through that song, which is about football and small town football and community, which is what he experienced growing up, he was touched by that, and then they turned it into a really powerful music video, which then expanded to become a documentary that he was a part of. I don't mean other people on his team created a documentary. He went around and was interviewing different football heroes and legends and sitting in their living rooms and connecting over their shared love of football and the life lessons it taught them. And it reconnected him. He even says it refueled me and it reminded me who I was at my depths. And that's what I want for you. Because here's the thing. As you are hustling and building your business, okay, whatever phase or season you are in, there are going to be seasons of hustle. But if you don't take the time to be intentional to stay connected to your roots and who you are as a person and what brings you joy, then you're going to lose sight of it. It's going to happen. Okay. And of course, there's grace and space and permission when that happens to come back around. But my hope and my encouragement is that this takeaway we can all apply and learn and keep that from happening. Okay. All right, friends, we did it. 8 lessons, 8 business and life takeaways from Kenny Chesney's new book. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit outside the norm. I thought it would be a fun way to start the year. And what I would love to hear from you is that 1 or 2. What is the 1 or 2 takeaway that I shared today that you're going to take and apply in your horse business starting now, whenever you are listening to this episode? So I'd love to hear from you. Send me a direct message on Instagram anytime. Hit me up in my email inbox. You're welcome to do that. But let me know, what is the 1 or 2 things that stood out to you from Kenny Chesney, whether you're a fan or not, that you're going to apply to your equine business. All right. And one last request. All right. If you've enjoyed this podcast in this, however long you've been listening, I want you to think of at least one business friend you can send this to. Who else would benefit from meeting the different guests that I have lined up for this year, which you are going to love, or even going in the backlog and learning social media strategy and email marketing strategy and website strategy and getting connected to your why and building your business with purpose? That's what we're about here. And I want to help as many equine entrepreneurs as possible. So if you would think about who's the one person that should be listening to this episode too, and shoot them the link and share it with them, I would be so grateful. All right, friends, I'm so glad you joined me here. I cannot wait for you to meet the new friends I have lined up for this year. And that's all, friends. Have an amazing day.